Welcome to our 5th edition of From Disability to This Ability. As you can see, we are not in the studio tonight. We are actually on site at a local day support where we're having a community conversation as it relates to special needs and special needs interest. Joining us today, we have some very special guests. To my right, we have my son. I've talked about him on previous episodes, Stefon. Stefon is 24 years old. He has Angelman syndrome, and he has the most brilliant, most beautiful smile. And we are so privileged to have him here today so that we can share some of his plights and hurdles that he has overcome in his life. Joining us also is Mr. Tyler Lauranzon-Galvan. He is a 4th grader at the Millwood School. He is 9 years old, and he is an ambassador for individuals, children, and adults with special needs. Our next guest is Mr. Charles Johnson. Charles is a parent of a child, an adult child, with special needs, and he is joining us today as he does come out into the community and helps to advocate for rights of those with intellectual or developmental disabilities. At the table towards our end is Ms. Jennifer Lauranzon-Galvan, who is the mother of Tyler, and she is also an advocate as well. Around the table we have Joshua and Roberta Johnson. Joshua is 32 years old, and he is an ID waiver recipient, and he is a self-advocate. Roberta, his mother, is his advocate as it relates to special needs interest. To my left is my husband, Jose, and he too is the father of our son, Stefon, and he is an advocate for special needs interest as well. Each week when we come before you, my goal is to bring you information so that you can increase your arsenal, so that you can be the most powerful, effective advocate that you need to be for your special needs loved one. Usually we are bringing providers to you, individuals who are working within the special needs community. We've spoken with early intervention specialists, we've spoken with executive directors, we've spoken with individuals at VCU as it relates to the Center for Family Involvement. Today, our conversation turns. We're actually speaking to families, members of our community who are in the struggle, and they have been so kind as to share with us some of the obstacles that they have overcome and some of the issues that they have helped to bring to light. So we'll get the conversation started with no further ado. I'm going to start with my friend to the right, Tyler. Hi Tyler, how are you doing today?
Good, how about you?
I'm well, thank you. Can you tell us, why are you so interested in being an advocate for individuals like Stefon and your cousin who may have special needs?
Because it's the right thing to do. I think every once in a while you should get out and pay attention to the need.
That's a good answer. Do you ever feel that if you don't stand up for something, then maybe no one else will, and so you are the one who's taking that first step? Do you feel the need to do that sometimes?
Sometimes, yes.
Very good. I'm going to go ahead now, and I want to talk to Roberta. I'm a mom, you're a mom, and we both have children with special needs. And we've endured and gone through this path together at different times, but some of the same obstacles we both had to endure. Can you share with us what it was like when Joshua was younger and you were trying to get him to go to school? Any obstacles that you may have encountered at that time, and how did you get over it? What was your resilience? How did you do that?
It was a struggle, and the system is not there to support you, especially back in the days. All they wanted to do was to drug him up to get him to go to school. When he was a child, he just likes to, as I say, escape artist. He used to like break the screen out, go explore the neighborhood. It was almost like I probably got 2 hours of sleep a day. because at the time his father did not participate much in helping.
So you're saying something right now that really speaks to the heart of the special needs community. A lot of times, individuals in special needs family structures, they're broken. And that can be in large part due to the emotional, psychological, physical, spiritual stress that might be attached with raising a special needs loved one. You and Charles are married. You have been together for over 2 decades.
24 years.
How do you guys ensure that you're there to support one another and support Joshua with his needs in the community and not lose focus of what's important in that relationship?
It's a hard struggle. If God, first of all, was not foremost in our life, we would have a hard, difficult time. Sometimes we have to take each other aside and discuss, because emotionally he always wants to protect his mom. So if we're having issues with him, we literally have to go out and talk about it or try to deal with it, but not with him present, because he is, everybody says, a mama's boy. You know, he protects his mama. So, just
keeping focus and keeping your eye on the prize. It sounds like what is foremost, what is important in keeping the family structure together. I want to talk about systems change. A lot of times in our conversations that I've had on previous episodes, we talk about systems change in the community. What do you see in the community now that would be monumental as it relates to systems change to make life for people like Joshua, like Stefon, like other special needs individuals easier, more integrated within the community? Perhaps additional waiver slots, perhaps capacity, having additional providers. What do you see in that regard? Because Joshua is an ID waiver recipient, correct?
correct.
And he has been one since.
Yeah, he's actually had the waiver since he was 22. He was on the waiting list for 13 years.
Okay.
Um,
I want to talk about that. Now, Charles, you might be able to weigh in on this. Being on that waiting list, okay, not receiving the services in the community that are supportive of having a good life. How would you describe life prior to waiver and then after waiver? Would you say it was difficult? I know for myself it was very hard.
it was very difficult because we couldn't keep babysitters. He,
Sound like he would elope sometimes.
right, and he, it was just hard dealing with a lot. I lost numerous jobs due to my job pretty much gave me a choice, my child or my job. And my child always won. And like I said, every time I would hire a babysitter, they couldn't handle kids with his special needs because they just say his behaviors are so overwhelming sometimes. And I guess over the years, we've learned what works for him and what doesn't work for him.
When I spoke with the executive director of Center for Family Involvement at BCU, Dana Yarbrough, I asked her, you know, in terms of the way that society is now and in terms of her daughter who has special needs, what would she like to see as far as a difference or a change? And she made a statement saying that she would not like to see her daughter change, but that the world around her daughter change to be able to provide and support her in her special needs. So it sounds like where we were is not where we are, but we still have a ways to go.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I'll be honest, I don't trust their world. I don't see enough the bonding yes, I am just overwhelmed that, you know, we have come a great distance from where we used to be, and we still have a lot of work to get where we need to be.
One thing that we do talk about is advocacy, and we talk about systems change, advocacy, and how we can all get involved. As an advocate, you don't necessarily need to have a big title. You don't have to be the president or the CEO of any organization. You can be a mom. You can be a dad. You can be a student. As long as you are involved and really invested in making a change. So Tyler, I want to ask you a question. You're part of my organization, CASA, a Caring and Supportive Advocacy Alliance, and you were also our first ambassador for change. That must have made you feel really proud to do that. I know that I've spoken at your school before, and we've called you up, and do your friends ask you, hey Tyler, what all do you have to do to be an ambassador?
Well, they really did not really know about it. I told them about it sometimes, but they really didn't pay attention until that you came.
Really?
One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of kids think you're lying nowadays.
They think what?
You're lying.
About?
Anything. You say one thing that, so until you came, they didn't really know.
So they really didn't know how involved you were. So let's take this opportunity to kind of spotlight you. You've done a lot of work with our organization. You helped us to clean up an inclusive playground. You actually brought some of your friends with you to help do that with Stefon. You've come to the General Assembly and you've spoken with elected officials, with senators and delegates. And how did that make you feel? And what were you talking about, if you could let our viewers know?
Well, I thought it made me feel good. And I was talking about
how everyone should be together and have a place to play, and why services are needed for people like your cousin, Lisa, correct? And Stefon, your friend, correct? Because there's room in this world for everyone. Yes?
that is true.
That is true. I want to ask you, if you had to tell someone the best part about being an advocate, because that's what you are, that means that you kind of stand up for the little guy, for the person who can't necessarily stand up for themselves. What is the thing that makes you smile when you are an advocate?
It just makes me feel proud that I'm helping out people that can't speak up for themselves.
Yes, because everyone's life is important. I want to go ahead now, and I want to thank you for sharing that, Tyler. That was very good information. I'm sure that a lot of other children and students may start coming to you and asking you what you do, and you'll be able to continue to tell them all the wonderful things that we're doing in the community. I want to talk to you, Roberta, as a mom, and I want to talk about Josh's future. Okay, we've spoken together at the General Assembly. We've been in downtown Richmond, and we always are asked that question where we as parents kind of take that hard pause. What does the future look like for Joshua? How do you envision that?
I really don't think that far ahead. I have to take it day by day.
When you think about 5 years from now, there will come a day, as we all know, because life is finite, that we are no longer going to be here. What would you like to see in place for Joshua as far as his living and his surroundings and his circle of support?
Well, I have a very good family that, if anything should happen to me, I know it would be too much of a struggle for my husband, because my son is, even though he does well with him, with me not around, I don't think he would be able to handle him. You know, I have my nieces, even my sister, who are more than willing to step up to the plate and take him in and let him be part of their family now, even though they're cousins. It would be part of their family, because they enjoy being around Joshua. They enjoy, you know, talking with him, and he's a big fan of NASCAR. It's amazing. Just a driver can go over a line, and this child knows the seconds they come over that line.
Let's talk about some of the great things that Joshua can do that kind of blows people's minds, because I've been around you and Joshua, and he will look at the clock and say, it's time to do this. Or he'll be able to say what the weather is going to be like for a week out. So let's talk about some of those great things about Joshua, his characteristics and his personalities. And he said he likes NASCAR. What other things is he interested in?
Well, he loves football and he loves basketball. He really don't discriminate against no sports. He actually likes baseball, soccer. We were very heavy when he was in school with Special Olympics, which was really rewarding. But as he got older, he doesn't like to participate as much. He kind of says he's a man now, and he don't really like to participate. Every now and then he might say, "Hey, I want to do bowling," or "I want to do soccer."
And it sounds like what you're doing then is giving Josh the opportunity to make the choices to do the things that he wants to do. His life, his way, his community, and that's his right. So
sorry to say, it's going to be his way.
it is going to be his way.
Unless you want that behavior. I just sometimes, as the doctors have always told me over the years, pick your battles.
Yes.
So a lot of times his battle wins just so we just don't have the outbursts and the episodes, and that's what this waiver provides for me, the relief to make it about him.
Exactly, and that's what it's about. It's providing that individual with the supports that they need in order to be at their highest level of independence and autonomy. So, Charles, I'm going to ask you a question. In Virginia, we've had 5 training centers open at a time, or institutions. Several have closed. More are scheduled to close. And one is to remain open for the most severe, dire individuals who may not be able to be placed in a home in the community. In your own words, can you share with us and our viewers, why do you think that living in the community with the supports in place, such as that waiver provides, is the optimal setting for individuals like your son Josh and Stefon and other special needs individuals?
Well, I feel like, I hope I'm answering the question precisely right. I feel like what we did with whatever is the parents can, I think, they born them in the world. They know more about their child than anyone else. So putting them in the group home, whatever, you get somebody maybe trained and certified, but they don't know your child like you know. And I think whatever situation of closing up so many of them and just saying, well, you do what you got to do, whatever, and go on and live with your parents and whatever, you know. Don't nobody know the child, nobody them. The parents do.
So it sounds like those supports that individual needs, if that structure is there and those supportive measures are in place, then that would allow the individual, such as Joshua, such as Stefon and others, to be successful in the community, and thereby forego the need for an institution or a training.
Exactly.
Jose, I want to talk to you because I know that you take Stefon out a lot. What are some of the things that you do with Stefon? Is it you guys go to the flea mart? I know you guys do that. What are some other things that you do? Go to restaurants?
Yeah, like eat lo mein China.
He likes Chinese food.
Yeah, they like ice cream. They like go food line.
And he rides his bike, his adaptive tricycle, and he's able to ride his bike, and he's able to be with his family.
Talking to neighbors.
He likes to talk to the neighbors. And he also has a love and a passion for pets. We have 5 Chihuahuas, and they crack Stefon up every day. They run up to him and give him a high five with their nose to his knee, and then they go on about their business. So being a part of the community, I know that within my family, we have had some major trials and struggles. Stefon was fortunate in that when he was 6 years old, he was allowed his waiver. And that is the earliest age that a person can be given a waiver, is at the age of 6. So prior to waiver, we were constantly in the hospital. We lived at VCU. We stayed in the Ronald McDonald House and in the hospitality home in Richmond, Virginia. We lived in low-income housing. Like Roberta, we could not work because every day was a battle. And that's the thing that a lot of special needs families, I think, is the sentiment that needs to be explained, is that it's not about being lazy. It's not about I don't want to work. It's about how do I keep this individual who has my blood flowing through their veins, how do I keep this individual alive? And how do I keep this individual inserted and part of their own community? With Stefon, he is deemed to be medically fragile. He's in the hospital frequently. He's had numerous surgeries, from brain surgery to eye surgery to back surgery to abdominal reconstructive surgery, and all types of surgeries in between, and therapy. And I can tell you this, a circle of support, it's about individuals, such as that are sitting around this table right now. And what it is that it's the people who are invested in that special needs individual. They're not receiving any money. They're not receiving any grand accolades, no parades or anything such as that, but they're doing it from their heart. And the many times that Stefon has been in the hospital on life support, lingering on the vine, wavering between life and death, it has been those circles of support, those prayers that have pulled us through. Roberta has been there, her family has been there, Jennifer, Tyler, everyone knows when Stefon has a surgery or a procedure, and they wish him well and they send their love. And that's what this is about. Because he is a part of his community is part of him. And when he hurts, they're there to support him. And when they need him, he's there as well. And that's what it's about. So, having said that, Roberta, I want to talk about, our topic today is my life, my way, my community. Share with us some things that you and Joshua do, because I know you and Joshua go out all the time and you do a lot. So what are some of the things that you're able to do?
Well, I wanted to piggyback on the institution.
Okay.
I worked there for over 10 years. I saw a lot of abuse. And that was one reason I would come home every night and hug my baby and say, "You will never go there." Yeah, his behaviors get so severe. That's another thing why I fear these institutions, group homes, because my husband, we've had to actually do breathings, like calm down, let him explode, because somebody would actually hurt my child. And the thought of that ever happening, I would probably be in jail, because I would have hurt somebody if they hurt my child. Just like if your child was normal, you're going to hurt that individual if they hurt your child. And like I said, I saw many of days that I went to work and I cried, but I had to have a job. I had to have that insurance to take care of my child. And at the time I had a good babysitter, which is his godmother, and she was able to handle him. It was a good Christian family for him, and it worked. And
I want to step in here, because what you just said is something that is so critical. On our first episode, we had Mr. Larry Barnett. Mr. Barnett is running for delegate in the 27th District of Chesterfield County. He has over 30 years experience in the mental health profession. And one thing that he has stated is that he does the crisis intervention training. one question that is asked of special needs families, and when we have this question asked, we always take a pause, no matter what type of special needs our loved ones may have. But you just said, if Joshua is having a behavior, would you call the police? If he is having an outburst, would you call the police?
No.
And the reason being is because you're reticent to do that because perhaps of the lack of training that the police have had. But I want to bring to the forefront again the crisis intervention training that is being given to our first responders, to our police officers in Henrico, Chesterfield, and surrounding areas. It's educating our individuals who are in positions of power to know how to treat someone who either may be on the spectrum or who may have a behavioral predisposition, so to speak. So
I had an episode with a police officer one time, and I literally told him I was going to snatch a knot in him because he was coming at my son too forcefully. And I told him, back up, I said, don't yell at him, don't scream at him, don't threaten him with the handcuffs, leave him alone. And, it usually about 15, 20 minutes, he's able to calm himself down and get back into focus. But when you're coming at him screaming, yelling, and a lot of our police officers, I'm sorry to say, needs that training because they're all about their control, that they've got the upper hand.
And I do want to say this because it is important to note that this has been a prevailing issue, not only in Virginia as it relates to Neely Lotson
It's all over.
and the case, right? We've seen it unfold right before our own television sets. But again, individuals who are in positions of power and who do speak and train first responders, police officers, fire officials, they are doing the crisis intervention training that would alert them, like you said, don't repetitively speak to my son at a fast pace. Don't tell him to look at you in your eyes. That's not something that's really going to fly. Give him time to de-escalate, and then let's proceed. So that is something that is needed. It's known that it's needed, and it's something that is being addressed in the Commonwealth, and it's really true to life that you did bring that up because it is something that we have touched on this show, and it's something that those of us in the special needs community, we all take that hard pause. If we do have a child or we do have a loved one with special needs who may have behavioral issues.
Well, just like that prior thing, it happened just a few months ago. There was a caseworker trying to de-escalate the young boy to come back into the group home.
Yes.
He was playing with his truck.
Yes.
And the police officer just bluntly shot
The provider.
the provider.
Right.
Something me like go driving the one. Sometimes calling you and police behind me, but I have Stefon, and I'm nervous. The police stop me, and Stefon didn't understand nothing,
So this is an issue that we do face in our special needs community. It's about having first responders and those who are in positions of power to understand that you may have someone who potentially is maybe limited English proficient, or someone who is on the spectrum and not able to answer the question as assertively and as expeditiously as the officer may like them to have it be answered. But it's something that we're bringing to the forefront, something that we will further discuss in further episodes of FDTTA, from disability to disability.
Okay. Sorry, and you had asked me about what do we do out in the community.
I do want to know, what do you do? I know you do a lot, so.
Yeah, he loves to shop. We do a lot of volunteer work and giving donations and things to churches. I've had people call me if their family had an emergency, fire, or the family didn't have something. I have a little knack. I have a young lady who taught me well with couponing. So Joshua and I, we will go and we do a little couponing, and when he does his couponing, what I'm having him do is, even though he cannot read, he could do picture recognition.
Okay.
So he takes the pictures, and then sometimes I can show him like a detergent. If it's an ounce, I can show them the ounce on it. This is what we're looking for, but remember, we're looking for higher. So we'll work with that. And
So you're integrating learning skills with regular community daily activities.
Also, a lot of the stores know him. We have our little favorites, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Walmart, that, you know, a few of them know him very well. And he enjoys when they actually recognize him and say his name.
And I think that's important because
Yes.
a lot of times there was the sentiment that you want to hide your special needs loved one. You want
Yes.
to put them in the basement or put them in the attic or lock them in the room, and we don't go back there and we don't talk about cousin so-and-so. But we are no longer in that age. We are no longer in that mindset. We are out in the community, and it's my life, my way. And what is the best way for that individual to live? And name recognition, having people know Joshua when he walks into the
Knows
store.
his name when he comes in the door
Exactly.
and knows what he enjoys. And even say, how did you like the football game, Joshua? How did it turn out? They know him very well because this did not come before the waiver. I have done this his whole life. I made a point that I would never hide my child.
Exactly. And a lot of families don't necessarily have the knowledge, don't necessarily know how to navigate the disability arena. But the one thing that we try to do is we learn the word. It's not necessarily to empower individuals, but it's to co-power individuals, because we are all linked together. We're all working together to advance the disability movement. Now, I want to ask you one question. I want to bounce back to my friend Tyler, but Roberta, Joshua is 32 years old right now, okay? I want you, knowing what you know now, having 32 years of experience dealing with Joshua, I want you to go back, and I want you to talk to yourself when Joshua was 2. What words of wisdom would you tell yourself as it relates to rearing Joshua and preparing him for community living and the things that you would have to endure in this lifetime?
Oh, that's a hard one.
I'm going to tell you what I would say to myself, and then I'll let you kind of think about it. It's simply put, I would say, be strong. There are so many things that we have to overcome. There are so many things that we are challenged with and that we face, and you can never get ready. You have to always be ready. So be strong is the sentiment that I would have. What would you say to yourself?
Well, be strong, be yourself. I in no way, you know, sometimes I used to ask, you know, God, why did you do this to me? But then I'm like, God, you gave him to me for a reason. There's something very special in him that he can provide out here, and I really feel like he does that every day. You know, the people at my church, Amazing Grace, World Fellowship, they're awesome. They enjoy his presence. Couple of the pastors, they enjoy when he is their little helper. He enjoys when somebody literally says, Joshua, can you help me? Joshua, can you? It's almost like when he says it's about him. He has a smile on his face.
It validates him.
Yeah, it makes me happy because I feel like the people that I surround him, I'm surrounding him with the right environment, the right care.
Atmosphere, right care. And that makes sense. I mean, as a parent, you definitely want to make sure that your child is protected and in the company of good people with good hearts. And if you have someone with special needs, then you do need someone who's a little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding, a bit more flexible, and a bit more not so
Gotta give a lot.
stringent.
Gotta give a lot.
Exactly. So, Tyler, you're a young man and you're very much so aware of what's going on in the special needs community. Do you think that you, as a child, 9 years old, do you think that you can make a difference in the world as it relates to standing up for or being an advocate for special needs people?
Yes, I do.
Why? Because there's something good about doing the right thing. And if you set the example, then I'm sure others will follow you. Just like in your school. Remember you said when I went to your school, other people came up to you and said, you know, what do you do and what is all of that about? So you set the bar, you set the standard, and now you have people coming behind you, emulating or imitating, trying to do what you do, which is very, very good. I know that when you came with us to the General Assembly, we had a lot of people, a lot of tall people like Secretary Hazel, and he, you know, shook your hand and asked you, you know, why are you here? And you were able to say very eloquently, very well spoken, that you were there to advocate for individuals with special needs. And I think that that is really awesome because you are 9 years old, but you do a lot for special needs individuals. So you do a lot, even though you're a little guy, you do a lot of good stuff. Yes? Very good. Is there anything that you would tell your friends or any other child that would want to be an advocate? What do you think the most important thing is if you want to be an advocate? Like to have a good heart?
I would probably say be patient. It takes a lot of work.
It does. It does. So you have to be patient with people. You have to not necessarily fight, you know, someone, but if someone is being mean to someone, then you should be that person to go and tell an adult or a teacher, you know, or a parent, and definitely not make fun of people, right? Because nobody can help the way that they are born. Everybody is born the way that they're born. My hair is brown, your hair is blonde. I can't change that. I could, but it would cost me a little bit of money. But pretty much, you can't change the way that you're born, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And I think that it's good that you do stand up for and that you help in the community. You go to the General Assembly. You have your friends come out as well. You do a lot of things. Is there anything else as it relates to the special needs community that you would like for people to know why you are so passionate about that? Because it's so personal to you maybe, because it's in your family and you see it every day. And it's not nice to like not have friends. It's always good to be a friend and to have friends, yes?
Yes, it is really nice.
It is really nice.
But one of the reasons I wanted to be part of CASA is because of I have, I believe, 2 or 3 family members who have
Special needs.
special needs.
Okay. So that makes you more aware
Yes.
of what they have to go through.
Yes.
Yes. And you kind of look out for people like that in the community, like
Yes.
Stefon and your family members and so on and so forth. Charles, if I can ask you a question. If there's anything as it relates to systems change to make the life for Joshua, for Stefon, for other special needs individuals easier, better in the community, what would you suggest? If it's a political issue such as having more funding for waiver spots or having more capacity for services, or, you know, what would it be?
I would say definitely they need the parents that raise them, whatever. They shouldn't be denying them the money that they get from them because they are entitled to that money. They work for it. And like you were saying with him, you have to be very, very compassionate dealing with special needs or whatever. And I think sometimes personally, the people that handle these matters, they don't know what parents go through dealing with or whatever. So I would also think that any type of facilities, they could open up for the special needs, that whatever, let them see form thing, whatever. There are special things they can do if you give them a chance, whatever, and stop putting them down in a sense and try to be more understanding and compassionate for them.
So having more availability within the community to be integrated, to be mainstreamed, to be supported in doing that, and within their choosing, their home choosing, whether that be with the family or that be with a roommate. They have the new iHomes where it's an app and it links individuals with special needs together so that they can be roommates, and then they have smart homes and micro boards, and so there's all kinds of ways that they are making society is evolving to support our special needs loved ones. I know that in our community we deal a lot with the limited English proficient community, those who speak Spanish, and Jose, I really want to ask you this question as an individual who is a native Spanish speaker. What kind of problems do you see with individuals who don't speak English? Like we run into families in the hospital who have special needs loved ones and they don't speak the language. What kind of problems do you see?
Well, hard, you know, somebody not talking English, it's hard for asking for help or support for the families. Like me, you know, I don't speak English perfectly, you know, how you can support me, how Roberta, Charles, you know, I have friends. For different families, you know, talking English, it's hard to go to the hospital and ask for help for somebody saying Stefon, you know, go to a store, you know, for buy food. Like maybe they have an accident, they asking for help for the police. It's not easy, you know. Like the police go looking somebody like me, Spanish, thinking, okay, they're not speaking English. I don't know how they die or how they sentence Stefon.
So if you were to say something to our limited English proficient or our Spanish viewers to let them know that there are services that are available, that there are things that are out there to help people, what would you say in Spanish to let the people know that there's CASA and that there are other agencies that
Well, like a me, Stefon, they go to Home Depot, well, like Stefon, they like to go to Home Depot. When you know, sometimes looking people and looking people sentence Stefon, they have a mother or father or sister, what they have a casa and they can help and they talking Spanish, they talking foreign language, you know, and they can help. And sometimes I go cut my hair and looking people right there sentence Spanish and help people. And you know, my way they like to help people, you know, a lot. Senten Roberta, Senten Charles, you know, everybody like to help people. And more important in life, sometimes, you know, people, they want to listen, like somebody Spanish, you know, like me, asking for help, you know, but I want to help Stefon too. You know, sometimes, one day I go to the hospital in TV, and Stefon is in the hospital, and see the one lady, and tell them, you have service? And they told me, no, they don't have service. But they not talk English. They don't know how to find service. It's a lot of people, you know, have information, you know, but you know how nobody can talk in English. Spanish, sorry.
Yeah, so it sounds like what needs to happen is that there's systems navigation that needs to be implemented in the places where our special needs loved ones constantly are, such as hospitals and within the community. For our special needs viewers who do speak Spanish, it is important for you to know that we do speak Spanish as well. Hablamos en español y es posible y tú tienes problemas, solamente habla con mi esposo o conmigo y tenemos una respuesta para usted. I want to talk with Roberta again because this is something that we're not new to this, we're true to this. We've been doing it since day one. Where do you draw your strength? What is it that you are constantly striving to give your son? What do you think that he deserves, and what are you giving of yourself to ensure that he gets it?
I give my all every day, just knowing I'm keeping him safe and in a secure home, that he doesn't have to worry about anything that Mama has it on her shoulders. That I'm going to make sure that he's dressed, he's fed, he has all the medical attention that he needs.
So I have a question for you, because this is a conversation, and we're having a real conversation that individuals who are in the special needs community live this every day. Prior to waiver, as I said before, we lived in hospitals, we lived in low-income housing, wasn't able, not able to hold a job, not able to work, not for being lazy, not for not being smart, but because of wanting your loved one to live. Can you share with our viewers, we sit here today, and we look so nice and so pretty, but in the words of Langston Hughes, life for me ain't been no crystal stairs. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the times when you didn't know where you were asleep.
I lived in my car because 2 years old, a babysitter could not control him. And I lost my job. And my ex-husband, who actually has not been in his life since he was 7, wouldn't hold a job, so we had to live in a little Pinto. I had 2 Chihuahuas, because I wouldn't give up my pets, but I couldn't afford nothing because every time I would find a secured babysitter. Even one time, my mother, when he was 2.5, my mother said, "Oh, she works with social services. She understands." I appreciate my mother was helping me then. She's like, she understands and she knows. Within 3 hours that she was calling me, my son was biting her, my son was spitting at her, that she couldn't control him. And I was like, "But you told me you knew about special needs." "Oh no," she's like, "Oh, his behaviors is beyond what I've ever dealt with." I've lived in, housing projects. I've had food stamps. At Christmas time, I would cry because I didn't know how to provide, because I was barely providing. I never did get welfare, but I did live in the housing projects, and I did get food stamps, and I did get WIC. But I also was working 2 jobs, coming home, dead tired, still had to take care of a child. And there wasn't help out there.
So from 20 years ago to now, we've
come a long ways. We've come a long ways, but
still have a ways to go.
I still see a lot of ways to go. Especially, I can't say it enough, parents with special needs, you've got to open your voices. You've got to advocate. You've got to help us. Don't sit back complaining, sitting on your hands saying, "I don't know where to go." There is help, but you've got to ask, and you've got to get out. Unless our voices are heard, we're going to be put on the back burner, and nobody's going to listen to us. So we have to advocate and
be vocal.
Yeah, be very vocal. You've got to get out there, talk to your senators, talk to your delegates, tell them your story, tell them your situation.
What are some of the advocacy routes that you have taken? I know you've gone to the General Assembly. You've come with us on DD Advocacy Day. I know you've done that. What else have you done? I know you've talked with the news and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've actually talked to a few people when Obama was in administration. I had talked to a couple of the workers there to discuss my son's stories, to tell them, because they were trying to cut our waiver. And I had, discussed to them the trying times that they would put me into with, doing a cut to us to discuss what it would do to my household and where it needs to be picked up in other people's households. my opinion, in a lot of this waiver, there's just too many people's hands in the pot for his money to take care of his services, because
It sounds like what you're saying is that there needs to be some systems change, and we
Yes.
will definitely be inserting ourselves
the
into
reason
that
I
arena.
say that in that it would allow for more waiver slots.
Okay.
There's a lot of wasteful spendings that up there that doesn't need. Maybe if they ask the parents, or not the parents, the people with special needs that are in this, what do we need? Instead of listening to the bureaucrats up there thinking they know a budget.
So let's just stop right there and
Yes.
say this. Every year at the General Assembly, there is a time for appropriation of funding where the General Assembly is open and that advocates and self-advocates can go and speak and say, hey, we need this amount of money in this slot for our special needs interests. And that's what Roberta is referring to. And then how that money is dispersed into the special needs community can then be discussed within your district, with your delegates, with your senators, with your elected officials. That is why it is so very important that we do speak with our elected officials to let them know what is going on. Because you cannot rightfully say, I'm hungry and nobody's feeding me if you're not telling anyone that you're hungry. There is food, but we just need to get that information to the right sources.
Yeah, I've talked to my delegates, I've talked to my senators. I love Kirk Cox. Kirk Cox has an open ear.
Delegate aired is really good.
Yeah, and-
There's a lot of delegates that, but what I want to do now, I want to talk to Tyler. Tyler, let me ask you a question. As a neurotypically developed young man, you're in the 4th grade, you're at Millwood, you're around your friends all the time. Tell me, would you notice or would you kind of think twice if you didn't see special needs individuals like at the playground or in the mall or when you're out in the community? Would it not make you think like, where are all my special friends?
It kind of would.
Because they should be in the community, right? Because they are part of the community. Exactly. And if you had anything at all to say to your friends as it relates to special needs individuals, maybe what would you tell them? They're just like everyone else, but maybe just a little different.
I would probably tell them that they're like everybody else,
Yeah.
but they just need a little bit more attention because
Yes.
they can't stick up for themselves.
Or they may do things differently than others, so that definitely makes sense. Charles, I want to basically start to wrap up, so I'm going to kind of ask you just a few questions. Prior to Joshua being inserted in your life, were you around a lot of special needs individuals? And was this a learning curve for you to deal with Joshua and his behaviors?
Now, before me and Roberta got married, I've never had no dealing with special needs, but 20-some years now,
Yes.
Roberta, it's been a special occasion. It's been a learning experience for
Okay.
me. And I seem to learn more and more each and every day.
Definitely.
That, like I say, they are people just like it is different in doing things compared to anybody else. And like I say, it takes a very special, compassionate person to deal with the special needs, but they're just like anybody else. They human just like anybody else.
Exactly.
You just gotta try to treat them right.
And in your vision for Joshua, who is your son, he's been in your life for over 20-some years, what do you desire to see for his future? What does that look like to you?
Well, I've seen some big changes in him in the 20-some years, and I realize whatever that certain things about him probably won't be the way for the rest of our life, but like I say, it's something that we have to accept and deal with for the rest of our life, and it's all we can do is just try to treat him fast, well, like a normal person.
Because he is normal.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to ask you, Roberta.
It's just very important to go to your local social services and in your community and find out what programs is out there and assistance to help your loved ones. Like I said, when I moved to Chesterfield, it was hard, but they've come a long ways than we used to be. But they're, especially some of these rural counties, they don't have the assistance and the programs like we have.
So I spoke with Dana Yarbrough last week. I spoke with Vicki Beatty of Virginia Parent Advocates, LLC, and you said Joshua started school when he was 3, and in Virginia you can actually start school as early as age 2. And Stefon started school when he was 2. Again, it was the hard pause, putting your 2-year-old on a school bus and having them go off to school. But they were able to receive that socialization,
Yes.
that individualized education, that physical, occupational, speech therapeutic services that they may have needed in order, to help them to burgeon and to grow. So it is very important that individuals know that you can, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, start school as early as age 2. And that, like you said, there are a lot of services that are available. There are community services boards, there are parent resource centers, there's early childhood special education, there's different types of schooling that is available to accommodate individuals with their special needs and potentially their behaviors. We talked about IEPs, individualized education plans. We talked about IFSPs, individualized family service plans for children under the age of 3. We also talked about the Americans with Disabilities Act and the IDEA. We talked about 504 and behavioral plans, things that would be put into place to help someone like Joshua now if he were to have a behavior that was admitted during the school day. We talked about the individual day, such as with Stefon, that he may need to go to school maybe one day a week. There have been times where he couldn't go to school at all, but we had to have a teacher come to the home. So we are growing as it relates to special needs awareness, special needs interest. If we have someone who is as young as Tyler at age 9 in elementary school who is with a very big heart and an ambassador for change, we have self-advocates such as Joshua and Stefon, and we have parents who are advocates as well. We want to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone for coming out for this edition, this special edition of FDTTA, and we will continue to bring you more information as it relates to strengthening and empowering and co-powering one another so that we can be the most effective, the strongest advocates that we can be for our special needs loved one. This is what we're doing to advance the disability movement. What are you doing? Thank you.